Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have not posted in a really long time, and I apologize. I've been sick for a while. Some of you might remember, like, my last couple of vlogs I kind of talked about thinking I might have had some food allergies and some of the symptoms I was experiencing, and it actually turned out that it was my gallbladder. This is going to be kind of just a raw video, probably no real edits in there or anything, just kind of how I record is probably how I'm going to put it up. The only reason I'm really doing this is because when I was experiencing the symptoms and once I found out like what was causing it, I still had a lot of atypical signs and symptoms that most people weren't experiencing, and I didn't really find a whole lot on about it, but I did find a couple people that were experiencing similar things, but they didn't really talk on it much, so I figured I'd put my story out there for anybody who may be dealing with the same type of thing. So probably about, I would say the symptoms started about two years ago maybe. I had done really good for a long time. Years ago, I had been very overweight for a long time. My highest weight had been 315 pounds. Naturally, through food and exercise and spending time with God and working on things inside that were causing me to emotionally eat, I had gotten down to my lowest was 169, but my average that I kind of stayed at was 175. And I had been there for, I maintained that for a few years. And I had you know, a lot of people that would come to me for health stuff. They had saw me, you know, through my healthy journey and saw I did it naturally, and you know, would ask for tips and recommendations, and a lot of people come to me for that. And so that was kind of like part of my story and my overcoming, and that went on for, like I said, I maintained it for quite a few years. So about 2 years ago, I started experiencing symptoms, but the bulk of them have been more so the last year, and the last couple of months it had really like heightened what I was experiencing. So I kept gaining weight. Like, I was working out a lot. Most weeks, a typical week for me, you know, most weeks I would work out at least 5 days, and some days, some of those times I was doing like heavy lifting and cardio in there, and then there were other times more recently where I was doing like Monday would be like an hour body pump and an hour P90X, which are both pretty intense classes, and then Tuesdays would be an hour of spin, Wednesday an hour body pump, hour P90X again, Thursday an hour spin, and Friday an hour of Zumba, and then plus, you know, anything that I might have done at home or the gym or just, you know, random stuff. So I was, you know, eating junk food here or there, maybe not eating as clean as I was when I was like really focusing on losing weight, but still nothing that should have really changed maintenance mode or maybe like gained 10 pounds if that. But I kept steadily gaining, you know, sometimes 5 pounds a week. And it just kept climbing and climbing. I wasn't feeling well. Most times if I worked out, I would feel great afterwards. I'd have a lot of energy. I would want to go out and, you know, just, I really went by that motto, like a body emotion stays emotion. So once I got going, that was it. I was doing great. Then it got to a point where I would go work out and I would come home and I would literally be exhausted. I would make like some sort of a post-workout meal or shake or something, and I would come either in my room or on my couch and just lay down and eat it. And that's not normal to feel like that after a workout. You know, you might feel like you exerted your body, but you're not going to feel like fatigue. It's not normal. So I kept experiencing those things. Like I said, the biggest one was the weight gain just kept coming and coming. I was experiencing more like joint pain, digestion problems, different things like that. And so I had gone to my doctors. Then there was a couple times where I got really sick, where I had like I had vomited for like 24 hours and then it would pass. Then that happened a couple more times. And so I was thinking maybe it was food poisoning because it only lasted 24 hours and then it would pass. I didn't really have any other symptoms, so I didn't feel like I had like a germ or a bug. I just felt like my stomach was sick and I would throw up and that would be it and I'd be fine. And I apologize ahead of time for these details, but I'm just going to lay it out like it is because if someone's experiencing that, I want them to like know, so I'm not going to try to, you know, beautify the video. You're just going to get it the way it is. So a few times that happened. A couple of those times I had eaten pizza. And so I started thinking, you know, I usually get sick around things that have gluten in it. So maybe, I know it wasn't celiac, but I was like, maybe I have like a gluten intolerance, or maybe my body has changed how it responds to gluten. So I had gone in, I told my doctor of some of the symptoms I was having, which I'd already said. Then there was a couple other ones too, where like my feet would get like a numb feeling or like a neuropathy type of feeling. And when I'd step on the floor, it was just painful. And so it was like it would vary from numb to painful and tightness in them too. So I went to her, I told her what I was experiencing. I had a whole list of like the symptoms. So if you do go to the doctors, you should write down anything because you will forget them. I know I'm forgetting some from the list because it was pretty long. So I gave her the list and she was really good. She was a new doctor for me. But she was really good about hearing me out. She sent out a gluten test. She also tested me for diabetes and tested my thyroid and then like a regular like blood and vitamin panel. Everything came back fine. So then she had turned around and said, and she wasn't mean about it, but she was like, you know, Katie, I think you're depressed. And I was like, no, but this is different. Like, I'm having all this pain. I'm having all these, you know, things that are going on. And she was just like, well, you know, depression, it can change as you get older. And I have experienced depression in the past and stuff. And so for me, like, I knew that depression can have body aches. I knew you can physically feel it. I knew it could have, like, aches and pains. Some people complain of their joints, things like that. But this was different. Like, I literally felt like I was dying sometimes. And sometimes I felt like toxic. I don't know how to explain it, but those were the words that would come to mind. Those were the words that I had on my list and stuff. And so once we had exhausted those tests, anything that, you know, we thought it might be, like I said, I only really thought the gluten, but she had checked a couple others. She was really good about it. And the symptoms just kept coming. I kept not feeling well. It got to the point where I would go work out with my friends and, you know, I just skipped days here and there. I did start dealing with more depression and like anxiety. I had a lot of other things going on besides my health issue, just a lot of life issues going on at the same time. So between that, and there were things that were kind of overwhelming on their own, never mind not feeling well on top of it. So I had all these things going on. I wasn't feeling well, and like all these situations, like nothing seemed to be changing and didn't seem to look like they were going to change anytime soon. And I didn't have any answers for my health issues, so I just was not feeling well. And so I did start to get depressed. I did start to get overwhelmed. I didn't see any hope out of anything at the time. Then it got to the point where I completely stopped working out with my friends, which is hard for me because I love to work out. I don't just do it to lose weight. Like, I actually enjoy it now. My lifestyle is very different now. It's, for me, physically and mentally and emotionally, it's great. Like, I love the way my body feels. And when you get the endorphins going, like, emotionally you feel great. You know, the time spent with my friends. So it was just really hard not to be able to go. And so, but I did stop going because I started to not really feel well. One of the other symptoms I had but didn't realize was a symptom, so I never mentioned it, was I also, in my abdomen, like off to the right-hand side near my belly button, I would get like a Charlie horse once in a while, or I'd have a little bit of pain. And I thought it was like a muscle that maybe I had like ripped or torn, and then it just didn't heal right. And so every now and then I'd feel it, but it would literally be like a Charlie horse, like you would get in your calf. And I would, put my hands on my stomach for a minute, kind of, brace myself, and it would pass. And, it didn't really keep going, but I did always have, just like a constant dull pain there. And I had it for so long that I almost didn't notice it anymore. The only time I did notice it, like I said, was when I get the Charlie horse pain. Another symptom, I had mentioned digestion, but more specifically was bloating. Anytime I ate, well, I thought it was the bread products, but now I know that it was more probably the fatty things. Excuse me, was the where was I going with that? Oh, so like it was like I remember reading other people's things that they would talk about bloating and a heaviness. And that's really the only way to explain it. It's not like, some foods you can eat, they might make you gassy, you might feel a little bloated or poofy. This is different. You just feel more bloated. It kind of hangs around like most of the time. And on your lower part of your belly, it just has like a heaviness to it. So I just always thought my food wasn't digesting properly, or I was having some sort of reaction to it. So those are like my main symptoms. So fast forward to Memorial Day of this year, we had a cookout, and I had just a couple of people over. I had my kids here, and I had my mom and a neighbor, and we had like a little cookout. And I don't remember if it was, I believe it was the next day. I went to the bathroom. I went number 2. Again, gonna get personal here, but I just happened to turn around when I stood up, and I noticed that it was very light colored, like a clay color. And so I had looked up online just out of curiosity. I wasn't feeling, off. I felt fine at the time. The only thing was that my poop was a different color. So I looked up online just out of curiosity. I looked up, what could cause your poop to be like a clay color. And so I'm thinking that it's like maybe like something that I ate at the cookout, although most of the stuff I ate was stuff that I normally would. So I didn't really see anything come back about food, but I kept seeing stuff come back about gallbladder. And it just kept coming back, gallbladder. So I started reading the other symptoms, and I realized, like, oh my gosh, I have, like, pretty much all of these. And so there was, the bloating and the heaviness. There was the pain in the abdomen on the right-hand side. There was middle upper back and right shoulder pain, which I was experiencing, but I wasn't really paying attention to whether it was my left or my right. I just thought, I would think, oh, I'm having joint pain. I wouldn't really think, oh, it's my right shoulder. So I wasn't thinking much into it, previously. So it was the right shoulder pain. And I also had never paid attention to the fact that I would feel these things similar, because like I said, most of the time the part of my abdomen was not sharp pains. It was more of like a dull ache that was kind of almost always there, but sometimes a little bit more than others. So once I saw this, because I knew that I had those, I had pretty much everything on except for like jaundice, like when you turn yellow. So I knew I wasn't septic. Like I said, I didn't even feel bad at the time. Nothing was wrong with my gallbladder at the time that I thought. Like I didn't feel that. Just my stool color had changed. So, but because I had so many of the symptoms, I said, all right, let me go get it checked out. So I went to the emergency room that evening, and I was there throughout the night, because I went like probably around midnight or so. And they did I came in, I told them, I said, I know you're not supposed to look up stuff on the internet, but listen, I was looking this up. This is all it's really coming back, and I just happened to notice that I really do have like a lot of these symptoms. And then also some other ones, which, like I said, were the pain or tingling, numbness in my feet. It depended. Mostly towards the end, it was like a pain and a stiffness, like it just hurt to step on my feet. So, and sometimes I would even get like just a little bit of blurred vision on the sides, which is kind of like random too. So I went in, they gave me a CAT scan, which came back that I did have stones and that the lining of my gallbladder was thickened and that my gallbladder was also outstretched and inflamed. So I was in a flare-up. I just didn't realize, like I said, most of my pain, like typically when people have gallbladder pain, they have in their abdomen. They also tend to lose weight because they're not able to eat. And that's why I wanted to share my story and share this video, because mine's very atypical. It's not your typical story. So I was actually gaining weight. I went from, like I said, I was about 175 when my symptoms really started maybe 185. I might have gained like 10 in there, but definitely no higher than that. And I kept gaining. I went in the other day for my surgery, and I was up to 250 or 250 something. So I've gained like 70 pounds. It's like a big number. And like I said, the majority of that I was still working out. It was just probably the last couple months maybe that I haven't been. So they gave me a CAT scan. They told me my results. So I kind of said, well, what's next? And they said, well, we can put you in for surgery. And so I was like, I really can't. It was my daughter just had turned 18. Well, she was about to turn 18, but she had her last day of high school coming up. And in order to go to her prom, which was that evening, she had to go to school. And I also have my son who was here. You know, I'm a single mom, so I had to make sure I came home to get him on the bus because she leaves earlier. So I wanted to make sure I was here for that. And then after that, I went back that same day not to the emergency room, but just to the hospital in general, because they wanted to give me 2 other tests. One was an ultrasound, and one was a HIDA scan, HIDA, which is when they give you like a radioactive tracer dye, and they inject it into you through like a IV port, or just your vein, basically, I guess. And then they put you into the HIDA machine, and they watch this HIDA scan. You have to lay in it for like a couple hours. And they watch the dye go through. And it acts as how bile would. So they want to make sure that the function of your gallbladder is functioning right and that it's passing through the way it should. At that time, I hadn't gotten the results yet, but when I did find out later, it was going through fine. But there's also a second part of the test where they give you something that makes your gallbladder contract, so open and close. And they couldn't give me that because I had stones. So I guess when you have stones, they don't, because it would irritate it. So they couldn't let me know like how that was. So then all the results go to my doctor. I wait a few days to get it. They finally get it. The nurse is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's nothing here. Your gallbladder's fine. There's no stones. Like, you know, and all this stuff. And so I was like, no, like, I have like the paperwork from the emergency room, and it says, and I, you know, told them the symptoms I just told you. And then another day I also talked to them, same thing. And then a third time I talked, and a different nurse said, well, they should have had you come in to see your doctor. I don't know why they didn't, so let's set you up to come in and see her. So I came in to see her, and she's like, I don't know why they told you that. Like, you definitely have them. So by this point, I'm pretty much feeling fine again. I had tried doing like one of those online like natural gallbladder flushes with like the apple juice and the lemon and the olive oil and all that stuff. I didn't see any stones come out. And stones don't pass on their own, so unless there was something like that, it wouldn't work. But I did try it just for the heck of it, and so that didn't really change anything. I did start to feel a little better though, but I was also drinking more like dandelion tea and like things to support my liver, and I had also like changed my diet, so I wasn't even having like, you know, treats here or there. I was just having like healthy foods and a lot of vegetables. So I'm feeling pretty much fine, and kind of like conflicted about like, should I have it taken out, should I not? Like, you know, there's pros and cons both ways. So I just kind of prayed about it, and I was like, you know, God, if I'm supposed to have it taken out, I'll get symptoms again. So I got the symptoms again. I prepared myself to go to the emergency room, thinking that, you know, if I was ready, they'd just put me in, because last time they were gonna. So I, you know, prepared my house, got everything situated here. I took out all my jewelry, made myself all ready. I go there, and they give me something for pain because I was having like mostly the upper back and shoulder pain, which that seemed to be my biggest symptom besides the weight gain. And so I went and I was there. They gave me the medicine. I was hoping they were just going to put me through for surgery. And then they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to send you for surgery. Because it's not infected right now. So, like, yes, you're having, like, a flare-up and you're having the symptoms, but there's no infection, so we're just going to send you to, go through regular day surgery, because it wasn't, like, an emergency one. And I was like, but you're looking at the same, test results that they were before, and they were going to send me, and he's like, yeah, but, they're kind of busy tonight, so we're going to send you home. So I was kind of disappointed because I'd finally talked myself into it. And I had kind of said before I went into, like, God, if it's meant to come out, like, things are going to go smoothly. And if not, then, like, if I'm not supposed to take an organ out of my body, like, make it very clear, like, don't let it work. So the ER doctor came back and he said that he had a surgeon, that could see me as a consultation that same day, like, later on that day, because this was overnight. And so I was like, okay, I'll go see him. And I was like, do you think he could do it today? And he's like, no, it'd probably be a few weeks. So then I called his receptionist and to set up the appointment. And I was like, oh, do you think that, like, he could do it today or at least this week? And she said, no, he's booked solid for a few weeks. And I was like, oh. So I went in and I saw, when I was waiting in the waiting room, a friend of mine from church came out. And she was actually my nurse that she, brought me in and got me all set up and everything. And so in that, from that point, I'd already kind of like known that I was going to get it done. And I kind of had it settled. But from that point, I just started really feeling peace. Like, okay, this is the right thing to do. I need to do this. And I really felt that God was putting on my heart, just get it out, you'll feel better. And I don't believe that was me because I didn't want to get it out. I wanted to try to fix it if there was any possible way. So I saw her, I talked with her for a little bit. She prayed with me, which was nice. And then the surgeon came in and I met with him. And, I wasn't feeling well, so we had set everything up. Kind of talked about, he had agreed that he would do it. He looked at my test and said, okay, you do have gallstones and stuff like that, so we'll do it. And, so I was hoping that, like, maybe. So I asked him too, even though everybody else said a few weeks. And he's like, it's not really any openings or whatever. And so then I'd asked if he could at least give me something for the pain because I was in pain. And the hospital did give me pain medication while I was there. They actually gave me morphine. But they didn't send me home with anything. And so I was thinking, it's going to be a few more weeks, And I was taking 2 leaves at the time. Every time, which you're not supposed to do, and that wasn't even really touching it. So, my friend was just kind of like, we'll see what we can do. And so then they came back and they're like, okay, we'll do it Wednesday. I was like, oh, this Wednesday, which is like 2 days later, because he only works Mondays and Wednesdays. So they were able to get me in Wednesday, and I was really happy about that. And they were thinking probably like later on in the day because I was an add-on, but they actually, when the schedulers called, it was like I had to be there for 6:15 and then my surgery was at 7:30. And so that actually went really smoothly. And it was a good time too because, like, you fast overnight, so I didn't have to fast long term to the day. I wasn't overthinking it. It shortened the amount of time where I was like waiting to go in. It shortened the amount of time I was like dealing with the pain, and and I just got it over with. So that was good. I think I'm gonna end this video here because we're already at 24 minutes. Because, like I said, I'm not doing this one like kind of like trying to be to the point. I'm giving you like all the details because I wished when I was going through this and I was like looking for someone's story in there, I wish that I had this type of video or someone just laid it all out for me, all the little mini details. So I think overall that talks about most of my symptoms. It also talks about the process of like some of the testing that I had done that was not what was wrong, and then some of the testing that was done and some of the more recent symptoms, as well as leading up to my surgery. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this off, and I'm actually going to go immediately start another one, which is going to be about my surgery and just kind of what to expect and what to expect so far. Currently, I am day 4 post-op, and so I will give like an update, especially those first couple days. That's when you're gonna have most of the symptoms. I will talk about it. I'm also gonna show my incisions just to, give people an idea. They're not too bad, but they are uncomfortable. But still not as uncomfortable as the symptoms that I've been having for so long. So I am going to cut this off here, and then I will be back on, and like I said, we'll cover the surgery. Okay, so welcome to my channel. And just like everybody else says, if you want to like it, subscribe it, hit the bell if you want to be notified, all that happy stuff. I am going to be getting back into fitness stuff. I now have 70 extra pounds to lose. And I love fitness, and I believe this is part of my story, and I believe that it's also part of how I'm going to help other people to overcome that have medical conditions or other things that they have to work around. Before, I mostly just had I was an emotional eater and stuff, but I didn't really have any medical things. Now I have a, fitness and losing weight without a gallbladder. Well, and now I want to help people more too that have diabetes or different things that they have to work around, because I want people to be able to be healthy. So if you want to follow my journey, it's not just going to be gallbladder stuff. It's going to go back to the fitness stuff in a few weeks when I'm feeling better. And then probably in about a month and a half, when I can really start hitting it, then we're going to have some fun. So thanks for watching my video.